It was around midnight when I heard the hinges of my front gate scream open, not like a welcome, but like a warning. Through my security camera, I saw the flashlight beam slicing across my driveway, jittery and nervous like a guilty conscience. And there she was again. Karen, the HOA president, sneaking into my property like she owned it. She didn't knock, didn't call, didn't even hesitate. She just waltzed right in, clutching that stupid clipboard like it was a royal scepter. A pastel cardigan wrapped around her shoulders, the same one she wore every time she came to inspect what she called her neighborhood. What she didn't know was that I was recording everything. And soon, that same gate she loved to invade through would dump an entire barrel of filthy rainwater right onto her smug face. My name's Daniel. All I ever wanted was peace, quiet mornings with my dog Rex, and evenings by the pool I built myself. I'd worked my whole life for this little slice of freedom. No landlords, no shared walls, no one telling me how tall my grass should be. Just pine trees, blue skies, and a house that finally felt like mine. But apparently that kind of peace doesn't sit well with everyone, especially not people like Karen. She was the self-appointed queen of Pinecrest Meadow HOA. You know the type, the forced smile, the sing-song voice that hides the venom underneath. She believed every fence, every tree, every mailbox somehow belonged to her. The first time she showed up, it almost felt funny. I was hosting a small barbecue with 2 friends from Work Burgers on the grill, music playing, Rex wagging his tail, the whole perfect weekend vibe. Then, click, the gate latch. And there she was, clipboard raised like a weapon. This pool, she said, must remain open for HOA members. My friends burst out laughing. I thought she was joking. She wasn't. When I told her politely that my property was outside the HOA, she rolled her eyes and muttered something about community obligations. Then she sat down beside the pool like she'd just claimed the place. That night I actually laughed about it. I even joked to Rex that we had our own pool inspector, but the joke got old real fast. The next week I found HOA flyers jammed in my doorframe demanding I pay shared pool maintenance fees. Then one evening I came home to find her giving a group of neighbors a tour of my backyard, pointing out my deck, my plants, my pool like it was a damn open house. Rex barked so loud they scattered, but her muddy heel prints stayed all over my lawn. I called the sheriff thinking that'd fix it. The deputy just chuckled. She's been warned before, he said. Good luck getting her to stop. Karen didn't stop. She escalated. Sometimes she'd sneak in at dawn with pruning shears, claiming she was trimming unsafe shrubs. Other times I'd catch her at night, flashlight in hand, mumbling to herself about regulations. She was everywhere. It stopped feeling funny. It started feeling invasive. Like she wasn't just trespassing on my land, she was trespassing on my sanity. I tried to ignore it, but one rainy evening I caught her halfway over the fence. She slipped, landed flat in the mud, ripped her pants and screamed, "This fence is hostile." I stood there in disbelief. Hostile. My fence was hostile. I thought maybe that embarrassment would stop her. Oh no. It only made her bolder. Weeks passed and I started losing sleep. I'd wake up at 2 a.m. just to check the cameras. My friends told me to let it go. But how do you let go when someone keeps walking into your property like it's theirs? I even started wondering if I was the problem. Maybe I was too uptight. Maybe I should try to be more neighborly. But then I'd replay the footage, that smug grin, those entitled eyes, and I'd remember exactly why I couldn't. Then came the day she took it too far. I came home early from work and found her under my apple tree bag and hand picking fruit. HOA has declared fruit-bearing trees on visible lots as shared resources, she said, like she was quoting scripture. My property didn't even touch HOA boundaries. She just made it up on the spot. Rex barked at her and she yelled, "Control your animal," before walking off with 3 apples bulging out of her bag. That night something inside me cracked. I realized this woman wasn't going to stop. She didn't care about laws or warnings or decency. She cared about control. And if the law couldn't stop her, maybe humiliation could. But life threw me another curveball before I could act. A week later, I walked outside to see a group of teenagers splashing in my pool. When I asked what they were doing, one kid shouted, "The lady from the HOA said this pool's for everyone." My stomach dropped. Liability. If one of them slipped, I could lose everything. I told them to leave and lock the gate, but that's when it clicked. Karen wasn't just invading, she was weaponizing my property. At that point I felt hopeless, angry, tired. I sat on the porch that night with Rex staring at the stars, and I actually whispered, maybe I should just move. But Rex just looked up at me with those brown eyes, loyal, patient, and somehow that tiny bit of calm reminded me who I was. This was my home, and if she wanted a battle, she'd get one. Then it hit me, the gate. The damn gate she always pushed through like it was her birthright. What if that gate could teach her a lesson? Not with violence, but with humiliation. Poetic, harmless, undeniable humiliation. I had barrels of rainwater I'd been collecting from storms, murky, leaf-filled, disgusting. I looked from the barrels to the gate, and I swear an idea sparked so bright it made me laugh out loud. Over the next few days I built my masterpiece. A wooden frame behind the gate, 2 big barrels stacked on top, hoses running down to a release valve connected to the latch. Push the gate hard enough and gravity would do the rest. Dirty rainwater gallons of it straight down. It was stupid, childish, and absolutely perfect. The first few tests were disasters. The hose snapped once, spraying me right in the face. Another time a valve failed and I soaked my own shoes. Rex barked so hard I swear he was laughing. But eventually it worked. I set a crate as a test dummy, pushed the gate, and watched as water thundered down, splashing exactly where she'd stand. I nearly fell over laughing. After that, it was just a waiting game. Every night I sat on my porch with a drink, watching the cameras, waiting for her to make her move. And every creak, every sound in the wind made my pulse jump. I wanted her to come. I needed her to come. A few days later she did. That morning felt different. The air was tense, like the world was holding its breath. Around 9, I saw her on the camera feed, pastel cardigan heels clicking on the gravel clipboard tucked under her arm. She didn't even glance at the private property sign. She just marched up like she was coming home. Neighbors were watching too. You could see blinds twitching, phones peeking out. She grabbed the gate latch, looked around once, and shoved. What happened next? I'll never forget. A roar, a gurgle, then an explosion of filthy brown water crashing down. It wasn't a splash, it was a flood. Weeks' worth of gutter runoff, soaked leaves, mud, and everything foul nature could brew. Karen screamed, a strangled half-yelp, half-sputter. Her hair flattened against her head, mascara streaked like war paint. Her cardigan clung to her like a wet towel. Her clipboard floated away in the puddle. For a second the world froze. Then from somewhere down the street, laughter. Not cruel laughter, but the kind of shocked, uncontrollable laughter people get when karma hits in high definition. "Oh my God, did you see that?" someone yelled. Another neighbor cheered. Karen stumbled, tried to shout, but it came out as a wet, garbled mess. "This is assault!" she screeched, pointing at me with her dripping hand. I stayed silent, just watching from the porch. My gate had spoken for me. Minutes later, a sheriff's truck rolled up. It was the same deputy from before. He took one look at Karen, drenched, furious mascara melting, and had to bite his lip to keep from laughing. "Ma'am," he said, "we've got video of you trespassing again." She tried to twist it, of course, said I'd built a weaponized booby trap. The deputy just sighed, watched the footage on my monitor, and said, "You can't trespass and then claim to be the victim." By that evening, half the neighborhood had seen the video. It spread like wildfire, group chats, text threads, even the local Facebook page. Someone titled it, "Karma Splash HOA President Gets Soaked." Within hours, the meme was everywhere. But Karen wasn't done. Oh no, humiliation just fueled her fire. The next day, she showed up in full armor, blow-dried hair, power blazer, and started yelling about legal action. A week later, I got a letter from her lawyer accusing me of intentional emotional damage and public humiliation. For a moment, I panicked. Reading those legal words in black and white made me wonder if I'd gone too far. But then my lawyer saw the footage, months of her trespassing, unlocking gates, even holding bolt cutters once. He laughed and said if this goes to court, she's going to wish that water washed the memory clean. And he was right. In court, Karen tried to play the victim. Her lawyer described the water trap like I'd built a medieval torture device. But then my attorney pressed play. Clip after clip showed her breaking in, ignoring warnings, yelling about community rights. And finally, the soaking. Even the judge had to cover his mouth to hide a laugh. When it was over, he looked at her and said, "Case dismissed." That was the day Karen's reign ended. The HOA board called an emergency meeting. The same people who once clapped for her now voted her out. She stormed out of that room, red-faced and silent, her eyes full of hate. But it didn't matter anymore. She wasn't the queen of the neighborhood, she was the drenched fool from the viral video. After that, the air in Pinecrest Meadow changed. Neighbors waved more, laughed more. Some even came over to shake my hand, telling me how they'd suffered under her petty rules, fines for trash bins, threats over curtain colors. One woman said quietly, "You did what all of us wanted to." Karen disappeared after that, though sometimes I'd catch her car creeping past my house. Once our eyes met through the windshield. She didn't roll down the window. She just pressed the gas and drove off. Maybe it wasn't the water she feared, maybe it was the reminder that her power had washed away. Now the gate stands there quiet, ordinary, but to me, it's more than wood and hinges. It's a reminder that peace isn't something people give you, it's something you defend. And as the sun sets over the pines with Rex at my feet, I finally feel what I'd been fighting for all along. All I ever wanted was peace. And sometimes to protect peace, you have to get a little dirty.